Hi, Rashid here again, and in today's video we'll learn everything about speaking part 2, and I'll give you some of the top tips to stroll past it. So without any delay, let's get into the video. We'll first see what part 2 actually is, and then we'll see what makes this part so scary, and some of the 9 band tips and a sample answer of a band 9. Now let's see why this part is sometimes a little scary for the students. Many students find part 2 very challenging for a number of reasons. It is a monologue, and that too for 2 minutes. That's on the top of the list. This is very different and difficult because you will be speaking alone for 2 minutes without any verbal interaction from the examiner's side. This is also difficult because some students often run out of ideas and have nothing left to speak. It becomes even worse if the topic is totally unfamiliar. But the biggest reason, in my opinion, for not doing well on this part is that students underestimate it and think that 2 minutes isn't a big deal. It's just not very long. But if you actually do it and talk for 2 minutes, you will see that 2 minutes is quite a long time. What you really need is the ideas to get going for all the ways. Let us first see what this task looks like. The examiner will give you a topic card, and on the card there will be a short description of a topic with some ideas for what to include. The topic will be related to personal experience, for example, a person you know or an event that you participated in. There are 4 instructions on your booklet or cue card directing you what to talk about. But before you talk, you are given 1 minute to prepare. You're also given 1 extra paper to make notes on. It is very important to use this time very wisely. This task is your chance to show the examiner how well you can talk for an extended period. Many people also call it the long turn because it's your turn to speak for a long time. 2 minutes doesn't seem like a long time, but if you have never done it before, it can seem like forever, even for native speakers. So practice speaking for 2 minutes. And also, you give your talk and you're expected to speak without interruption from the examiner for up to 2 minutes. The examiner will listen and say nothing, but he or she may nod or gesture in order to encourage you to continue talking. Okay, so now I'll give you some of the tips that can help you improve your speaking part 2 performance. On one website, I read a suggestion of introducing 5 bullet points into every topic, like introduction, past, description, opinion, and future. This might work for certain tasks, but this doesn't work always. Remember, every topic has different set of questions, and it would be a mistake to externally enforce one structure on all of them. The number 1 advice is never to reach this part 2 with a premeditated structure. Try to go about every question in a different way according to the layout of the questions, according to the sequence of the questions. Next one is quickly decide what you have to talk about. Lie if you have to. You need ideas to expand on. It is better to make points right from the bullet points provided and add extra detail coming out of these points. This will help you stay relevant, focused, and organized. Being honest is not one of the assessment criteria. The examiner doesn't care whether what you say is true or otherwise. The examiner only cares about the language you use in your talk, your pronunciation, and your fluency and your coherence. In fact, you could even lie. However, it's better to speak out of your own experience because it's usually easier to talk about. But if you can't think of something to talk about, then it's better to cook up. Better than nothing. You must ensure that your notes cover each of the bullet points. As you will be adding a lot of details, it's important to stay organized. Write down the keywords that can help you to organize your thoughts and ideas. These notes can help you in planning your ideas. They will get you thinking about the topic. improve your coherence and organization, and improve your fluency. Use this 1 minute time very wisely. Your score is going to depend on this. It is important to use the time to think and note down ideas or words. During the talk, you may need to look at these notes to get ideas for talking. To be able to do this easily, the notes must be written clearly and in an organized way already. So you can make a flow chart, arrange ideas in clockwise or in columns, etc. A random bunch notes will be too much confusing to look at, so it should be clear so that you can follow it easily. But remember, please do not write down full sentences as there won't be enough time. Most candidates do not do this note writing. They write just about 2 or 3 things on the paper and they spend most of the preparation time thinking about what to say. The problem with this approach is that as soon as they start speaking, they forget what to say. So make detailed notes. Okay, so how to open the part 2? Giving a simple introduction in the start is a very good approach. You can start by saying why you chose to speak on this object or experience, etc. When you begin talking, you can look at your notes briefly, but do not try to read directly from the notes. It's important to maintain eye contact with the examiner as you speak. Alright, the most important thing is that you must know how to expand your ideas. You must have a clear strategy which can help you prolong your talk. This will add more time in your talk. Your language will also have a variety of expressions because of extra ideas. You can add these extra ideas by answering WH questions like where, when, why, what, etc. It's not mandatory to address each one of the bullet points, but it's better. It is important because speaking on all of them can help you keep talking and talking throughout 2 minutes. But if you have spoken for 2 minutes and some points have been left untouched, it's not a problem. Time your talk during the practice and make adjustments if needed. Try to talk more than 2 minutes to last at least 2 minutes during the real test. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Everybody does it. Even with these mistakes, you can score very high. The mistakes are natural. Worrying about these mistakes can cause problems. Some students become very nervous after making a mistake and completely lose control. If you have made a mistake, you can correct it by saying sorry and repeat the sentence. But if you have gone too ahead, don't turn back. You have much more ahead to prove your language. So don't be confused if you have made a mistake. Keep going. When you're speaking in part 2, do not rush through this task. Speaking fast doesn't carry any marks, so speak at your natural pace that you normally do in your own language. Try to speak at a steady, natural pace. Speaking too fast will hold down your band score for pronunciation. What if you really run out of the ideas? If you run out of the ideas before 2 minutes are over and the examiner hasn't stopped you, you can look quickly at your notes or look at the questions again to check if you have missed anything. Another way to continue talking is referring back to an earlier point in your talk and add more into it or keep talking while you think. After learning all these strategies, it is time to practice, practice, and practice. Do not leave anything to chance. Do the practice of speaking every day. Record your voice in your phone device or computer. Listen to it, find your mistakes, and correct yourself. Or maybe you can have another teacher or some IELTS expert to evaluate your language. Okay, I'm going to play now a sample answer, which is of a band 9.
I'd like to talk about the most exciting tennis match I've ever seen. It was about 6 years ago, just outside Bordeaux in France, and it was the boys' final of a junior championship. My favourite player, a rising star, had got to the final, so I wanted to see him. At the time, I didn't know anyone else who was interested in tennis. All my friends preferred football, so I went on my own. I set off really early to make sure I got there on time. But I ended up being too early, and I had to wait for 2 hours for the match to start. It didn't matter though, because this meant I got one of the best seats, right at the front, in the middle of the court. I was delighted about that. Other people gradually started arriving. The seats filled up, and we waited expectantly for the players. When the match started, it soon became clear that I was practically the only person supporting Jean Martin. Most people were there to support the other guy, who had won the previous 2 years and was the favourite to win this year too. Every time Paul Fernandez won a point, the crowd erupted into applause, but I sat silently, getting more and more anxious. Martin lost the first set, but then there was a dramatic turnaround. He suddenly seemed to find some self-belief, and he started to win. That's what I love about tennis. It's a battle of the mind as much as the body. I find it interesting to see how some players may be highly skilled, but don't have the mental strength to win. Martin obviously did have this strength, and Fernandez was slowly falling apart. The atmosphere was electric. Martin showed off his amazing skills, hitting ball after ball straight down the line. Martin served for the match. You could have heard a pin drop. When he served an ace, the crowd went wild. Although they had begun by supporting his opponent, they had grown to respect him for his cool head and control of the ball. When he was presented with a trophy, he cried with joy.
Do you play tennis yourself?
Yes, I'm a keen tennis player. I joined a club about 2 years ago and play all the time.
That's all for today's lesson. This is Rashid, and I'll see you in the next video.